Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well and had a good weekend. Welcome to another episode of Moving to Australia. I'm Arun Belur, and I'm joined today by the founder of Debika Migration Services, Amitava Deb. Hello, Amitava. How you been?
Hello, Rin. Good. Thank you, Rin. Good afternoon.
You had a good weekend?
Yeah, I was busy working.
Okay.
How was your weekend?
It was all right. We went trekking with the kids, took them
Nice.
to Gosford Cliffs, something different for them. So it was nice.
Okay. What are we talking about today?
Oh, today we're going to focus our attention on business innovation and investment provisional visa subclass 188.
Oh, that's excellent. That's a very interesting topic. Something, a category of visas that I really like.
Yeah, this visa allows one to own and manage a business in Australia, conduct business and investment activity, or undertake an entrepreneurial activity here. So
Yeah.
there are five streams, core streams that to choose from: business innovation stream, investor stream, significant investor stream, premium investor stream, entrepreneur stream.
Yep. Yep.
So how does one go about figuring out which
Okay.
is the right one for them?
Well, we'll take a little step back um, on this particular visa category. Business innovation, as it is called, subclass 188. Earlier, there were two different subclasses, 188 and 132. 132 was a direct PR that has been discontinued. And then we had this 188 leading to 888, which is a PR. And there are several streams. There used to be several streams. And the idea was to attract people with business acumen to come into Australia and contribute, either through a startup or by bringing in funds to invest into entrepreneurial activities. So earlier, there were five streams. There's business innovation category, and there was business investor, significant investor, premium investor, and entrepreneur. Okay. So the premium investor one is gone. That's the one where one had to invest 15 million Australian dollars
Wow.
into government fund. So when you invest, you actually do not invest in a business that you fancy. You have to invest in government designated investments, which
So what are
is
what are the returns that you can expect from these bonds?
it varies. It could be as low as 2%. So a lot of business people will say, well, if I've got $15 million, why am I going to give it to some government? They would rather use that money to expand their own empire in their own country. Unless in their own country they have challenges. So this particular category where one has to invest 15 million was not very popular. The other two are normal investor category and significant investor category. The normal investor category, you have to invest 2.5 million Australian dollars. Significant investor, you have to invest 5 million Australian dollars.
For how long is this investment required?
4 years
Okay.
in designated investment. So, what is a designated investment? It will be based on the state. So, every state will have certain investment portfolios that they will list and say, okay, you have to invest in these portfolios. Yeah? And you need to hold those investments for 4 years. There are certain residence requirements for investment category. One has to live in Australia for at least half the time before, so 12 months in the 24 months period before applying.
Before
In
lodging
the
lodging your EOI for
for
this
the
visa.
No, before applying for the second stage for the PR. Whereas for the other one, it is a lot more relaxed. One has to be in Australia only for 40 days each year for these 4 years, and then they qualify for the PR. There's another very important difference between the two. The normal investor visa, where you invest $2.5 million, requires you to have invested in the past at least $1.5 million in one financial year in the last 5 financial years. So you need to
Okay.
have an experience in investment to be eligible to invest. You cannot just have lots of money and say, I want to invest.
So when they say invest, is it just their business or it could be investment in anything else?
No, investment means investment into entities where you make money. So usually investors will have a portfolio investment. If you had, everyone does that, if you have mutual funds and fixed deposits, so you will have an investment manager managing your investments and giving you your portfolio statements. So a proper investor will have a portfolio of investments, probably every month or every quarter, depending on what he is investing. Even investment in a bank is investment. So when they say you should have invested, it does not mean you should have had the money. What it means is that you put your money into something for the purpose of generating more money. So uh, investment could be mutual fund, investment could be property investments or series of properties where you invest. So if in one particular financial year, someone has bought a property with his own money, by not taking loan, 1.5 million Australian dollars, he qualifies as an investor to then invest in Australia the amount of $2.5 million, provided he has that $2.5 million in liquid money or money that can be liquefied readily. He also has to score 65 on the points test. Yep.
So does one need to be in Australia when they lodge their application for the business innovation and investment visa?
One does not need to be in Australia when he lodges the application. So hear me out, the following points. One cannot just lodge an application for this visa. He can only apply for the visa when invited by a state government. So he has to lodge an expression of interest and then be invited by the state, and then he can lodge the visa application. Now, when he has been invited, if he has a visa, a tourist visa maybe, and he happens to be in Australia, or he decides to travel to Australia when he is invited, and he lodges the application when in Australia, his application becomes onshore, and he gets a bridging visa A. So once the tourist visa ends, he gets a bridging visa A, which gets activated, and he gets full work rights, full rights to start a business, and Medicare. So that's a good question.
Oh, Medicare as well, even though they are not permanent residents?
Oh, sorry, no, not for 188, for 888.
Yeah,
Not for 188, yeah.
for 188. Okay. But do applicants also need to take an English test like the skilled migrants do when they lodge their EOI before they are invited?
Business innovation visa does not require English as a mandatory aspect before lodging an expression of interest or before application. So if they pass an English test, there's certain benefit. For the first two streams, which is the business innovation stream and the normal investor stream, which are points tested. So just note, those two are points tested. In those two cases, they may get certain points. Secondly, if they sit for the test, they have established, now provided they get the required score and it is functional English or above, they would have established that they have functional English score, and Hence, they will not need to pay the second installment fee for English tuition, which is around $4,000, $5,000.
But if anyone in the applicant's family who comes in as a dependent or who is added as a dependent in the application does not have functional English competency, then they can just pay the money and avoid
Yes.
taking the test?
Yes, same as skilled migration, which is why you would see so many business migrants starting shops in Australia and they do not speak enough English. That's a different story. I think, if you ask me personally, the business innovation visa itself has to change because it is probably failing Australia on the purpose what it is designed for.
But this was one of the things that was highlighted in the report that came out in March when
Yes.
when a team was put together to look into
new
the
government.
Australian migration system.
So I guess there is some politics in there as well. But the reality is, yes, it needs to change. Australian government has recognized skilled migrants are contributing more than what business migrants would. A lot of business migrants come here, they're complacent, they just start something like a grocery shop or a petrol station, and that's it.
Now that you mentioned that, so what are your business obligations if you are granted this visa?
So before granting the visa, before applying, okay, let me take
Not
another
before
step
applying.
back.
Once you come to Australia and you're granted this visa.
No. I was going to say something else.
Okay.
Before applying, you need to state your purpose. Yeah. So that is only applicable to the first one. The first stream we have not discussed so far. We have so far discussed in investment. The investment, if you have the money, meeting the requirement for investment is easy because there is a list of funds. You choose, okay, I like these funds. I just invest money there for 4 years. I'm happy with this low return because I will get a permanent residence in return. But if it is business innovation, one needs to have a background in running business in his own country. So how does one translate running a business into what Australia require? So running a business means you should have held 30% interest in a business that is generating a turnover of more than 750,000 Australian dollar equivalent.
Okay.
Each financial year for at least 2 financial years in the last 4 financial years. That's major requirement. Second requirement, the applicant and the applicant's partner together must have held at the time of invitation assets which is equal to 1.25 million Australian dollars equivalent.
All right.
Okay. Then they have met the mandatory requirements. After that, there is on a point scale, there is a list of items, English, how long the business has run, what is your age, etc., etc. And they have to score 65 minimum. Certain states have a higher requirement. For example, Victoria has a requirement of 85 points, which is less than 85, you are not qualified. Now, one of the requirements when you apply to the state is your business plan. You have to propose what you intend to do if you are given this innovation visa. So,
but if you come here, does the government follow up on the business plan that you did provide?
Okay, I'm coming to that. Just hang on. So, once the business plan is given, the state government will review and they will approve or not approve. If they approve, once you get your 888, usually it is expected that you follow the business plan that you provided. However, the second stage, 888, does not mandate that you follow any particular business plan. It requires you to run a business for at least one financial 2 years. Sorry, run for 2 years, and for at least one financial year before you apply. You have a turnover of 300,000. You employ 3 local Australians, 2 or more. You have invested 200,000 into the business. So there are all these requirements to be met. It does not say specifically that you have to follow the investment plan you submitted. It is up to the state government when you apply for second stage to check whether you have followed or not. Some states, excuse me, some states are more strict than other states. And usually one could get away in the past by saying that, well, that was my business plan. Yes, I'll still follow that. But for now, because we are running out of time for stage 2, I am doing something else which is going to satisfy the stage 2 requirement. So legally they are okay. They satisfy stage 2 by, for example, running a service station, a fuel station. But they say that they would follow up their original plan. After that, there is no follow-up from the government. And they also don't care. And hence you'll see all these fuel stations run by migrants who do not speak English.
Now, there's an age limit when it comes to skilled migrant visa. Is there an age limit when it comes to the business innovation and investment visa?
First two streams, business innovation stream and the business investor streams, the age limit is 55. Significant investor has no age limit. So if your dad wins a lottery of 5 million Australian dollars, that's it, you can apply.
As long as you have the money, you're welcome.
Yeah, but if someone in India, I know if they get, say, $10 million, you'd happily retire in India, right?
Yes.
It depends, of course. Depends on the country.
So how many years must you have held the Subclass 188 visa, which is the business innovation and investment visa, before you are eligible to even apply for a PR?
Usually you get the visa for 5 years. So you need to keep a buffer. So usually after 3 years and 11 months, you're eligible to apply for the second stage visa. And if you're not able to, for some reason, if you're not able to meet the requirement, because it depends on what you have done in the past. And if at the end of the calculation period, you do not have a financial year where you met the required criteria, you may need to ask for extension. So those are the two extension streams.
And that extension is for how long usually?
Usually it's for 2 years, 2 years or 4 years, but usually for 2 years. There's another point I'd like to highlight, which comes up quite often. You can only include a child if the child is below 23 and is fully dependent on you for the first stage. Suppose a child was about to turn 23 and before the first stage was granted, the child turned 23. You cannot have the child included in the application. So they'll remove the child from the application, even though the child was added as part of the original application. 188 I'm talking about. Now, let's assume the child got the visa before turning 23. So if the child before turning 23 gets the visa, then in 888, automatically the child can be included. provided it is not the extension stream. But if it is the extension stream, the child cannot be included anymore.
Then what does one do?
Well, the child will have to apply independently.
To the other streams available, or
because
through
the
another?
child is no longer a child. After 23, the child is an adult.
So some other visa category has to fit into his requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've come across this quite a lot.
Oh, and they've managed to secure a permanent residency?
The child?
The child, yeah.
Well,
Or has it been
trying.
very, very difficult?
Well, there are challenges. They've been trying.
Now, state nomination program opened up all across Australia last month.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen some changes come across the allocations for this 23-24 migration program.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the business innovation and investment program has had zero allocations across all states for this year. Now, how do you see it growing next year?
So this year there were allocations initially, but then I think the government have decided that they have too many pending in the queue that have to be granted the visa. So if these are granted, then the allocations for this year will be met, which is why there has been no allocations. They want to clear the backlogs.
And that backlog is obviously because of COVID.
Could be, because they took a lot of applications in during COVID. But all these allocations that are published by the government are not allocations for invitations. These are allocations for visa grant. Okay. So as long as the government have applications in the queue that can potentially be granted the visa and the allocations met, there will be no invitations given out. Hence, they have decided for two reasons. One is, of course, they have enough in the queue. And secondly, they want to make sure that the current program works. They might change a little bit to ensure that it actually attracts people who come here with genuine business interest, not just for the sake of coming here because they somehow ran a lot of businesses. With full respect to them, and they're good businessmen, obviously. But then they need to come here and work harder. And perhaps there will be some mandatory English requirements as well.
Now, you did mention some investments required in the investor stream in the range of about 1.25 million or 2 million exact, if I'm not mistaken.
1.5 million. The investment required is 2.5 million. But their background has to be 1.5 million.
Now, this money that has to be invested, does it need to be invested before you are invited to apply for a visa? Or
No. Why would you invite me why would you invest if you're not invited?
so when does one show that they are going to make that investment? How does
They
it
have
work?
to show they have funds.
But the funds does not have to
Number
be
one.
transferred once you are given the visa?
No, they have to prove that they have funds that can be transferred. Hence, they will be given the invitation. After the invitation, they have to lodge the visa application. The case officer will verify that the claim of them having funds is genuine. Once they have established, just before the visa grant, they will be asked to transfer the money and invest.
Just before the visa grant. Okay.
Yes.
I think that covers everything that we had in mind when we spoke last week about discussing business innovation and investment visa. So thank you once again for your time, Amitava.
Okay.
It was a
Thank
pleasure
you,
talking
Arun.
to you and catching up with you again.
Have a good
So,
night.
everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week again. Thank you. Goodbye.